Good evening everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now this video is all about the wiring of the second track on the lift and the polarity switching, that sort of thing. But just to let you know, just trying out all the trains really, particularly on this curve, because you might remember me saying, if I come up a bit, saying how tight that curve is, and if you can see that is very tight. But I'm pleased to report no trains have derailed on it. Nothing, even at high speed. I mean, you saw the new measurement train, the HST there, travelling around quite high speed on the last video, and it's absolutely fine. Now, what I do need to check out is this track here. And I can't do that until this track is wired up. You only saw that track live the other day. And the reason for that is because this track has to have polarity switching. I'll show you the diagrams in a bit. But if you can appreciate, the way I do things is I've got live, if this is a loop, positive on the outside and negative on the inside. Now the track goes around like that, comes around, and then it splits off. So effectively this track and this track are this side of the loop, if that makes sense. So this track will be the positive and that track will be the negative, and then this is the negative and that's the positive just there. So it's the opposite. However, when I get to the top, if I just take you up, if you can imagine now, this side of the layout, again, so we have got positive and negative, positive, negative. So it comes around here. Now this track, again, would be on the outside. So this is the positive and, this is the positive and the negative. So that comes around, round. So we've got the positive and the negative, but these two tracks are joined. So that would be positive and that would be negative, and it's the same at the other end. So you can see both tracks are joined by a point. So that's why I say a train can turn around, because all it needs to do is to go in on the opposite track. So if it comes in on this track, which will be here, goes down, goes round the reversing loops and comes back on this one, the opposite way round, it's turned round. But although this track remains the same polarity, this one is going to switch, because at the top it's going to be positive, negative, but down the bottom, as I just said, is going to be positive this side and negative this side, which is the opposite. All right, so I'm going to take you downstairs now. I'm going to show you a test module that I've just built to show you how I'm going to do that. Actually, I've just thought of something. If you struggle to know which way around your polarity is, just take a small vehicle. Now I've just chosen a wagon here, a bit of masking tape stuck to the top, and my wiring is brown and blue. So if yours is red and black, just colour it red and black. It's as simple as that. So I'm just going to place that onto the track according to the polarity, and then you literally just wheel it round. So if you're not sure, just wheel it round. Oops, it's not. And that way, I would be on the wrong track, wouldn't I? Oops, I'm just going to put it on the other track. I think it'd be just easier. So you can see that's coming in there. Oops, it's derailed. Oh, blimey, I'm making a right mess of this, aren't I? There you go. So you can see the polarity on that. All right, now if I take it down again, excuse me, going down, 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 place that on top there. So if I use this little light, you can see that the blue is on that side. I'm just going to wheel it round. Bear with me, bear with. Oh, making a mess. It'll all come off again. Switch the points. But there you go. You can see very clearly that the brown is now on this side. So I just got that from somebody ages and ages and ages ago on their YouTube channel, so I thought I'd share it with you. I thought it was an excellent idea. It's just a bit of masking tape stuck to the top of your coach or wagon or whatever it might be. Just colour it the appropriate colours. It's certainly got me out of a few scrapes sometimes, but once you get used to the idea, you remember what your polarities are. But if that helps, use it. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Move on in life. Anyway, I'll take you now downstairs and you can see my test module. Hello and welcome back. You join me downstairs now, and I've made up this little test section. I've got the Hornby Select, which is what I use for testing, and a double pole, double throw switch. Now, hopefully you can just about make this out, but I've got 3 sections of track here. So there's one section with a break just there, another section with a break just there, and then a continuation. Okay. Now, the idea of this section is this here. I know the wires are different, but this section is a different polarity to this section. When I first put these wires up, I forgot all about that. So I wired it incorrectly, but hopefully you can just about make out that there's 2 black wires going into this side here with 1 red and 2 black, 2 reds and 1 black. Please don't do it the same way as I've just done it. I'll show you on a diagram a bit later, but I've just done that because I realised I didn't want to have to unglue this and then resolder these wires. So I thought I'd just flip the polarity just to make it easier. So what have we got? If I was to drive the 37 straight through now, watch the Hornby Select. So coming up to this section here, and it shorts. Okay. It's sent the, oh, just hit that. It sent the select into crisis mode, if you like. It's detected a short, so therefore it resets. On the Z21, you've got the black box or a white box, and then you have a blue light for normal running, and then it goes to a red light when it detects a short. So what do? Now, if you remember, I said we have got this section here in the middle. This is one polarity, and that's a different polarity. So this section acts as some kind of mediator, if you like, and it can flip from one side or to the other. In the same sort of way, if somebody was in, say, a submarine and they were going to go out and do some diving, you'd go into the pressure chamber, if that's the right way of saying it, because you have a dry section and then obviously the water outside. So you'd go into this sort of chamber in the middle, which can fill up with water or it can drain out, depending on whether you're going back into the submarine or going out into the sea. You know, and this is the same thing. As you've seen, if the train just carries on, it just shorts. So what do? If I undo that now, 57 was the code for this. I'll turn the lights back on. So I've now got to drive the train and stop it in this middle section here. If the train doesn't fit, then even one set of wheels will cause a short, just in the same way as you saw this one happen. So I'll drive it on really slowly, or it helps if I get it the right way around. really slowly because this is quite a short section. Right, stop. Right, I don't want it to cross that line and send the controller into a panic again. I flip the switch, so this is now flipped to this polarity, and I can just drive it off. Okay, take it back. Now obviously that's the same polarity still. I'm just going to put my finger there just to stop it from going any further. Hopefully I'll stop it. There we go. So it's cleared that section and it hasn't reached that one. So I flip the switch and you can see the 37 can just drive off. All right. Now, onto the wiring. How do you go about wiring this? Right, here we are at the wiring diagram. Now, once you've decided that you do actually have a reversing section, like I said before, you can go out and buy an electronic reversing module, and there are quite a few on the market. I'm not going to go into those. That's not what I'm doing. If you want to do that, this is not the video for you, I'm afraid. So please don't ask me which is the best reversing module. I don't know. And, you know, I'll only reply with that. So you're better off searching videos on YouTube which you feel, you know, for reversing modules. And there are loads of reversing module videos, loads and loads and loads. So, you know, there's plenty out there. But once you've decided you do actually have a reversing section on your track, that's the piece of track there. If you notice, my wires are blue and brown, yours might be red and black. Again, it doesn't matter what the colours are, but whatever you do, there must be a break. And the whole train must fit in that gap, however long that might be. And in the same way, that's probably the most common type of reversing section, where a train would either go round one way or the other. But again, the whole train must fit in there, even if you use an electronic version. And the reason for that is because the polarity cannot switch until the last wheel set has gone over the switch, and then it will switch. And the reason for that is because if one wheel goes over that section and then the switch has been switched to come back to match this side, if you know what I'm saying, then there's going to be a short. All right, so whichever way you do it, that track must fit the whole length of your train. I cannot stress that enough. That is very, very important. It will never work if it doesn't. So if you remember my video on wiring up the linear actuator to get it to go up and then down, it's exactly the same. Now there's my bus wires going under the track, and obviously they would be connected to either side of your standard track. So there's my standard track, and my bus wires would go up towards that in whichever configuration they would be. In the same way, they would go to this part of your track. It's just your standard bus wires. So you take your wires going off and wire them to two bottom terminals on the double throw switch, and then you cross them over. So make sure that there's no bare metal anywhere close to each other, but you literally just loop it round on like that, and then opposite to opposite. There's an actual switch. So this one to the opposite corner and this one to the opposite corner. All right. And then your two terminals from the middle go to the bridging section, as you can see from there. All right, so these two wires here would end up going to this part over here, if that's what your track looks like. All right, so I'm hoping that's clear. I mean, my reversing sections are perhaps a little bit different to other people's, because obviously I've got a double track, and at the bottom a train can travel through in like a dog bone type affair, and you will see in the next clip the train running round exactly like that, using both sides of the lift. But when it goes up, it switches because I've got a point which has obviously got the same polarity on both sides, like I showed you in the very early part of this video. So the polarity switch switches the polarity so that I can go up and then down and get the polarity right, so there's no shorting. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the layout now. Right, just before we finish this video with the last couple of clips, I thought I'd show you how I've fitted it into the wiring into the actual area itself. So this is a little bit difficult to film it, but you can see here we have got two wires coming out from the switch. There's the switch there, two white wires, these wires. Now, one wire goes to my DCC connection, which is just there in that connector block. And the other one goes up there, like that. I'll take you around the corner and show you that a bit more. And I'll take you down here. And then that loops into the bottom of the lift itself. All right, those wires just here. Now, they do need to be looped. I'm not going to apologise for this because I've left it like that for the moment. It is a tad long, but I just want to make sure that there's no snagging whatsoever, and I'll probably just cut that and join it back up. All right. Now, there does need to be a loop. There's got to be a loop because I cannot fix it hard because the lift has got to go up and down. And so in the up position, obviously, if you put it in tight and then you send the lift down, the lift is just going to rip all the wiring out and then just come to a grinding halt because obviously it'll break the power. So you've got, when you fit this, you've got to allow for the wiring to go up and down and make sure that it's going to reach there before you fix it all up. But you'll notice that I have fixed it. Oops, I thought I had. There's just there. So there's these little plastic things where you can put these wire things in, cable connectors or cable ties. They're a brilliant little thing. You just got to stick your back, you stick them on, and you know, put your cable tie through it, and it'll hold everything to your surfaces. But like I said, that's got to remain loose. It must, you know, otherwise it will rip everything out. And the other thing you've got to remember is when the lift is going up and down, please make sure your wires don't snag or get caught when the lift is coming up and it meets this area. Because obviously if it does snag, then it's just going to, again, rip it all out. And it could damage your actuator, you know. Just be aware that isn't, that's where the lip is, if you remember. That lip comes up against the bottom of the baseboard. Obviously that bit comes in first, so I can't get rid of that channel, it's just the way it is. I might put a wall in here at some point just to help protect the trains, but you know, I'm really not worried. I have had a couple of comments about making sure trains don't disappear down the gap. Yes, I know. And when the shed goes in above, I am going to fit automatic doors. I am thinking at the moment how I'm going to block this off. It's got to be something that when the lift goes up, something that will just come up like that. So maybe some kind of tilting mechanism just to stop the trains from coming away. But again, I'm in the process of thinking about that. The gap there is not very big, and I don't want it to be very big, obviously. So I'm not sure at the moment, but down the bottom, it might be a case of just being very, very careful. I'm not going to be running trains down the bottom whilst the lift is not there, you know, and I think that's got to be one of the rules you set up, but that's up to each individual to decide. I'm just going to do that. Right, so there we are. That's that rail already done now, and as you can see, I've got a steamer running at very high speed. Blue Peter, an A1 I believe that is. correct me if I'm wrong. But I know it's not perfect, and there is a slight jolt as the train goes up over the lift. But you can see very clearly that it's now running absolutely beautifully. And obviously that requires the polarity switch. Okay. Now I have said to quite a few people about some teething problems, and there's bound to be teething problems with this sort of thing. It's inevitable. I'll be open about it. The rails are probably around about 0.0, 0.2, 0.3 of a millimetre taller than the actual track. So you'll see from this that there is a slight jolt, but it's running. I am running this train very high speed. It wouldn't normally run quite that fast in this area, okay? Secondly, I've had one or two issues with this curve. At the beginning, it was just too sharp. So I found a piece of 4th radius set track and sort of manipulated it a bit by cutting the webbing underneath to make it straighter here. So I was able to fit that piece in. And there was another issue with taking you around this point there, that one, because the tracks had a slight kink in them when they came off. But if I take you around there now, you can see that's an awful lot better. The train doesn't have any issues with it. Yeah, I'm just playing with this 12 coach train. This won't even go on the lift, so I'm just having a bit of a play, because I can't ever run a train of that length on Piccadilly and be able to come down the lift. I think 10 might be the limit. I'll see what I can get out of it, but it would be quite nice. But you can see on the Z21 that is at almost full speed. I think let's slow it down a bit and it'll be a bit less noisy as well. But I hope you can see that it's now working. I still have one or two issues at the top, which I'll take you up, excuse me. This side is working fine, but there are one or two issues with this connection just here, and I've got to sort that. But that's not going to be a problem. It's just getting the tracks absolutely perfectly in line, making sure they're at the right height and also aligned left, right, that sort of thing. I've put a piece of plastic card in there now, as you can see. So hopefully that should be fine. I can't show you that because that track's not wired up yet. So a train would come off and it would just stop. But I have had some derailing issues with trains just wheeling them. So I've got to sort that out. It won't be a big issue. And I'm also contemplating actually taking this track out. I know a lot of you have said less is more, and I'm just beginning to think, what's the point, to be honest? I know a train could come down here and then join the main line in a clockwise direction. So I'll just have a think about it. I mean, obviously, if I do install it, I've got to put a point in there. So I won't do anything yet, but it's a thought that I've had. So it'd be interesting to see what you've got to say. I mean, if people are just going to say less is more, that type of thing, take it out. It's more to do with the logistics of the running, really, more than what it looks like. Yeah. So I'm not bothered by that track being there in a visual way. Is it going to limit the layout if I take it out? A train can come around here and then join the anti-clockwise loop as the HST did, or should it go around and join the clockwise loop? That's the point, is the logistics of the running that I'm talking about, not the aesthetics. All right. Anyway, to show you the switch, that switch is live now. I've obviously had to relabel it. I'm not liking that labelling very much. I might do that again. But obviously as the lift comes up, then I have to switch the polarity according to that diagram I showed you. All right. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the video now. So you've seen this train running as it goes around there. I'll just let you watch that just for a second, a little bit longer, and I will bid you farewell. I hope you have a lovely weekend and a lovely week ahead. Okay, everyone, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Bye for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do like, subscribe and share, not forgetting to click on that little bell to get regular notifications of any videos I upload. Some other videos are appearing on the screen right now which also might take your interest. Thanks once again, and bye for now.